Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
The Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show is just around the corner. We've got all the details you need to attend this one-of-a-kind event. Plus, what can we expect in the cattle markets as we head towards the end of the year? We've got expert analysis from CattleFax.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. In 1 week, the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show kicks off in Nashville. I'll be there, and I hope you will too. There's a lot of valuable work that will go on at convention as cattle industry members come together to debate and vote on NCBA's official policy positions. We've got an update on some of those issues in this week's Beltway Beef Spotlight.
Normally, around the end of July here in Washington, we'd be winding down for a much-needed August recess after 7 straight months of heavy policy discussions and legislative battles here on Capitol Hill and in our nation's capital. But like a lot of things this year, this is not a normal 2021. Congress is still hard at work for several more weeks, discussing and debating a tremendous amount of issues impactful to you as cattle producers around the country. Whether that be infrastructure, broadband updates, livestock transportation issues like the use of ELDs or the hours of service restrictions that make it difficult for our livestock haulers to get where they need to go. Not to mention the tremendous amount of discussion here in Washington about cattle markets and the prices our producers are receiving for their livestock around the country. Climate also is a big issue being discussed here in Washington, and how the cattle industry fits into that is going to be essential to how we grow and prosper in the years to come. Please join us in Nashville, Tennessee, August 10th, 11th, and 12th for the Cattle Industry Convention and Trade Show. This is going to be a fantastic opportunity for you as cattle producers and members of NCBA to give us your input and debate these critical issues affecting you in our nation's capital. All of our policy committees, from federal lands to live cattle marketing to the Property Rights and Environmental Management Committee or the Ag and Food Policy Committee or Cattle Health and Well-Being, Tax and Credit, all of those critical committees will be meeting and debating all of the issues of the day and considering policy proposals from our affiliates around the country. This is where the rubber meets the road as far as producer grassroots-led policy in our nation's capital. This is where we get our marching orders to take to Capitol Hill to make sure that your voice is represented in this national conversation. Don't miss this critical opportunity to get on the record, to make your opinion heard, to make your perspective heard from your front gate to the nation's capital. The best way to do that is to join us in Nashville, debate in these meetings, and move policy forward so that my team has everything they need to communicate your wishes on Capitol Hill. We'll look forward to seeing you in Nashville, where not only will we have these policy committee meetings, we'll have a comprehensive Washington, D.C. update with everyone on our Washington, D.C. team giving you the latest and greatest. We'll also have speakers from federal government agencies, Capitol Hill, and around the country speaking on the most important topics of the day in those relevant committees. This is where business gets done for NCBA and the cattle industry, and we hope we'll see you in Nashville, August 10th, 11th, and 12th. We'll see you there.
Now, if you'd like to stay up to date on all the key issues and events from Washington, D.C., one way is by becoming a member of NCBA. When you join, you'll get the Beltway Beef newsletter. Just call 866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org. The Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show has evolved over the years into one of the premier events for agriculture, and is eagerly anticipated by cattle industry members and those who do business with them. And joining us now is Kristen Torres, NCBA's Executive Director of Meetings and Events. Kristen, due to COVID, it's taken over a year to plan this event, and finally we're going to be able to have an in-person live event. How excited are you to kick this year's convention off?
Oh my gosh, you have no idea how excited I personally am to get this kicked off. We've been working on it for well over a year, as you mentioned. And we've been working very closely with the city of Nashville and the Gaylord Opryland Hotel to make sure that we're going to be keeping everybody safe.
Yep.
But we've got a great event in store for everyone.
I'm looking forward to a summer event. It should be a lot of fun. And one of the things people always look forward to are the speakers you all line up. Tell us what's in store in terms of guest speakers.
Oh yes, we have a great lineup planned for this year. Kicking us off for the convention this year will be Kix Brooks. So we're going to be kicking it with Kix at the opening general session. We have a new general session this year that's all going to be focused on sustainability. So folks will be able to talk about that as it relates to the cattle industry. And then closing out the convention, we'll have former NFL player Jason Brown. So he's going to have he's going to share his inspiring story with us. So it's going to be great.
That should be a lot of fun. I've been concerned just in terms of the trade show. It's always such a big draw, but not knowing how many companies are or not willing to come. Give us an update on what the trade show is or how the trade show is shaping up.
The trade show is going to be great again this year. We have over 350 companies.
Wow.
And also, due to COVID, we've been rearranging the floor plan quite a bit. We still have a sold-out show, but we're also going to have indoor and outdoor space this year. So it's going to have a little bit different of a feel to it, but everything a producer will need for their operation, they'll be able to find there.
Cattlemen's College is always one of my favorite activities. Give us a preview of Cattlemen's College and the other educational events you have scheduled for the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Cattlemen's College has 5 different tracks with 3 sessions in each track. We have live cattle handling sessions. Jason Lusk from Purdue University is going to be joining us there. We have risk management sessions there. And then additionally, for folks that are just attending the trade show, we have education programs there as well. We have a learning lounge with all different topics brought from some of our big sponsors. And then we have the demonstration arena where the stockmanship and stewardship program is featured there. And so those are live cattle handling sessions. That's all included in the trade show registration.
After the business day is done, a lot of people like to kick up their heels and have some fun. And what better place to do that than Nashville? Tell us what you have in store for after hours.
We have so much fun stuff planned. Nashville, as you know, is a big music city, so we're going to have live music all over the place, as we typically do. We're also having a Nash Bash barbecue, so it's going to be kind of an indoor-outdoor event, a whole lot of fun for folks. It's included in all registrations, and then we're closing out the convention with an exclusive Grand Ole Opry event. So what that means is only folks that are attending the convention will be able to attend that event. We have a great lineup for that. Lauren Elena, Ashley McBride, Mark Wills, among others that will be there. It's going to be fantastic.
That'll be a lot of fun for sure. So tell us this, do you have to be an NCBA member to attend? And if folks at home are interested in attending, what should they do?
You do not have to be an NCBA member to attend. However, your non-member registration will get you a membership for a year with NCBA, but you do have to be in the cattle industry. Folks can visit the website, which is convention.ncba.org, to register ahead of time, and I encourage them to do that. Or if they're unable to do that, they can just show up on site. We'll have registration set up there, and we'll get them all taken care of.
Well, thank you and your team for your persistence and patience and out-of-the-box thinking for how to pull off a summer event. We greatly appreciate it, and we're looking forward to the week.
Thanks so much for having me.
As Kristen said, it's not too late for you to join me and thousands of your fellow cattle producers in Nashville. You can register right on site, and one-day registrations are available if you just want to drive in for a quick visit. You can find all the details at convention.ncba.org. Still ahead, we'll get a preview of one of the most popular events at convention, the CattleFax Outlook Seminar. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
Nasalgen 3 is a new 3-way intranasal BRD vaccine that offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, BRSV, and PI3. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose new Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only 5-way intranasal vaccine on the market. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
When the field is your office, you never get tired of going to work. Cut, rake, bale, repeat. New Holland offers the power and versatility to get through the day. From small squares to large squares and everything in between, New Holland has you covered. Visit your local dealer today to find out more. New Holland.
Time now for Market Watch, brought to you by Heston by Massey Ferguson.
There are several can't-miss events during the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show, and one of the most popular is the CattleFax U.S. and Global Protein and Grain Outlook Seminar. And joining us now with a preview is Kevin Good from CattleFax. Kevin, this seminar is one of the most highly sought after and well-attended seminars throughout the entire convention. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Kevin, it is. We get started next Wednesday morning, 7:30. We'll go for about an hour and a half. We'll cover a lot of sessions. We'll start with weather. Dr. Art Douglas, he's been our weather forecaster for over 40 years. He'll be with us in person. After that, we'll cover grains. We'll cover international trade, the economy. We'll talk supply, demand, finish up with an outlook for the remainder of 2021 and 2022. And then we'll go into more details as far as some issues that cover longer term, the next 3 to 5 years for the cattle industry.
You mentioned weather. It's always an important topic, but particularly this year, given the drought we're experiencing. What impact do you see that having on cattle markets moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate for our producers in the western half of the U.S. and the northern plains, but we are in the midst of a very severe drought in a lot of areas. And because of that, we are seeing some herd liquidation on the beef cow side in particular. So that is adding more supply on the front end, but it will take away supplies we think about the next 3 to 4 years. So we're in the midst of a cattle cycle that this will be the third year of liquidation, Kevin. So we're still chewing through some big numbers on the front end, but longer term, because of the drought this year, we'll see some tighter supplies. In addition to that, it is playing havoc in some of the corn yields forecast, in particular the northern and western corn belt.
Yeah, and that is, as I understand, we're right on the bubble with this corn crop. We need to have every acre yield this year, don't we?
We sure do. In fact, it's interesting if we looked at the way we started the growing season, and we gauged that by the 1st of April in the corn belt. We were deficit compared to a year ago, and really one of the driest years we've had in the last 30. Fortunately, here in the month of July, moisture conditions have improved tremendously. So as we go into late summer and into the fall, hopefully that'll mean yields that are appropriate.
That's good. So talk to us about some of just the supply and demand fundamentals that have been driving this market and how you see that changing over the next 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, really, if you think about it in a rearview mirror, because of COVID in 2020, we were not able to harvest a lot of cattle, so we ended up pushing those cattle back. We're in the midst of those cattle. We are in the process gradually of getting ourselves back in better shape. There's still a pretty big front-end supply in the feed yards, but you can see some light at the end of the tunnel. This will be the 3rd month in a row of lighter placements, so there's less cattle out there for late fall, winter, and that'll be the case again next year. So the supply side is going to be more positive as we go forward.
Okay.
You know, we talk about the demand side, it's exceptional. And as you think about where we're at, economy's reopening, so food service is exceptional there. Retail has been good all the way through, and trade is record large.
So let's project ahead to fall a little bit. What is your crystal ball telling you about this feeder calf market, and what does that mean about some marketing decisions cow-calf producers should be making?
You know, it's interesting because some of the early video sales that have been taking place here through the summer, forward sales for the calf market and yearlings are roughly about $20 a hundredweight higher than they were a year ago, in some case more than that. So you can see some optimism out there. If you look at the futures market, either live cattle or the feeder cattle, they're the highest they've been since 2015. So they are anticipating something better coming down the road. And we would agree with that. We think as we go through the fall, we'll get along much better, especially in the calf market, compared to the last 2 years, which is desperately needed. You know, unfortunately, on the other side of that, drought conditions, that's going to be an overriding factor for a lot of folks in the West.
Yeah. Indeed, that is welcome news for many folks that have been on the short end of this market for the last couple of years. So that's good news. Thanks for coming today, Kevin.
Thanks.
CattleFax provides producers with the tools they need to make profitable decisions. Now, if you're looking for beef industry research, information, and analysis, then visit the website CattleFax.com.
Market Watch is brought to you by Heston by Massey Ferguson. Don't wish for great hay, demand Heston hay. Visit masseyferguson.us to learn more.
Up next on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll discuss how the right preconditioning program can protect your calves and improve your bottom line. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you need a stock trailer built to stand strong in tough country, you need a Big Bend trailer. Designed and used by a family that runs cattle themselves.
I think one of the things that makes Big Bend different is that I don't know of any other trailer manufacturer that actually ranches for a living, and we get firsthand use. We get to know what works and what doesn't work, and if we find something that makes our life easier, we'll do it and design it into our trailer.
Big Bend trailers are packed with features. Well-designed latches, movable gates, LED lights, and an 1.5 inch gap around the edges for easy cleanup. Year after year, they keep building Big Bend trailers better.
Without a doubt, they're 10 times better than they were 25 years ago. Lots of options and features and user-friendly options that we have now that they didn't have back in the day.
Ranch tough at a fair price. Find out more at bigbendtrailers.com.
Getting to run a family farm is a dream come true. When you can grow good grass, there's opportunity to grow plenty of weeds. We want to use the tools that will help us do a better job. I would like the legacy to be that we took really good care of the land and we truly did it as a passion and we did our very best for the right reasons.
If you're like most cow-calf producers, you're looking for every edge you can find to add value to the calves you sell. One strategy with a strong payback is weaning and preconditioning your calves to ensure they're healthy and set up for success. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brian Baxter has more from Idaho on the difference that kind of strategy can have.
On the western edge of Idaho, Moody and Terry Gross run a cow-calf operation not far from the housing developments that are growing around their ranch.
We are Mbartee Ranch. We're a cow-calf operation in New Plymouth, Idaho, 50 miles from Boise. We start calving around the middle of February and we sell the first weekend before Labor Day weekend.
In part because there's competition for land in their area, Moody and Terry have made some changes to maximize the value of every calf they sell each fall at Seven Rivers Livestock Commission.
We have been hesitant to precondition and wean because we just didn't have the facilities. So last year we weaned and we preconditioned and we saw the difference in our prices. Our manager at the sale yard, he just stops the sale. He flat says, this is Moody and Terry's cattle and this is what they're giving them and this is what they've done. And I think we're blessed to have the same buyers and more for several years in a row. They buy our cattle.
Moody and Terry, I'm glad you talked to them because they're a great example of that. They told us that they've realized a $15 per hundred over and above return from vaccinating their cattle versus non-vaccinating them. And last year, for the first time, they weaned their cattle. They weaned them for 30 days. They had 2 rounds of shots and they've seen an excellent return.
When you do that, it brings money to you. Your price of cattle go up because these buyers are looking, they're competitors. And that's why we have a sale yard, is because we get competitive bidding on these cattle. And when you get them weaned, vaccinated properly, then the competition goes up.
In fact, delivering calves that have been weaned and preconditioned has proven to be a sound strategy, resulting in better health and performance for the calves and higher value on sale day.
The game changer, I think, in our industry has been the cattle buyers at the next level are starting to recognize the value, the true economic value of buying preconditioned animals, and they're starting to compensate the cattle producers down to the cow-calf level for that value. So really, preconditioning is about doing what's right for the cattle, but also adding value to your product. And I want these people to stay in business.
Since we started to precondition, we have noticed, because Moody will sit out in the audience and we have more buyers because the buyers want to know where these calves have been and what vaccinations they've had, and they want to know what they're buying. So when we went on the Merck program, I think we've been on the Merck program now for 4 years. That's just helped us tremendously because it sells. We've noticed a big difference in our prices.
The program offered by Merck Animal Health is known as PrimeVac, and it gives producers a clear guide of the steps needed to give their calves the best start.
PrimeVac program is a simple, straightforward program that encapsulates everything we know about what we should do from an animal health standpoint for certain age groups of animals. It encapsulates both the best in animal health products that are available, plus the best management practices that are available to ensure animal health. And so I think that melding of those two, excellent animal health products with excellent management, is the secret of PrimeVac. Vaccines incorporated into the PrimeVac program would be respiratory vaccines such as the Bacillus Vista Once vaccine. Very, very common vaccine that's time tested, got millions of doses under its belt, effectively immunizing cattle for respiratory disease. Some of the newer technologies that Merck Animal Health has developed to offer as a tool to cattle producers are the Bacillus Nasalgen 3 vaccine. What's unique about Bacillus Nasalgen 3, Bacillus Nasalgen 3 PMH is they're intranasal vaccines. These vaccines allow us to go up the nose with the vaccine and immunize the calf at the portal of entry. In the PrimeVac program, you also see clostridial vaccines recommended. Producers typically would call those 7-way or 8-way vaccines, or a blackleg vaccine. Merck Animal Health offers a number of different products in clostridial vaccination. Bacillus cavalry 9 is an example of a vaccine. Bacillus Vision 7 or Vision 8 with Somnus is another example of a vaccine. And then we also make a Bacillus Covexin. So your veterinarians will be able to explain the subtle differences between those different vaccines, but the real take-home message is a big company like Merck Animal Health is proud to offer a lot of different options that are highly safe and highly efficacious to the cattle industry.
Those that we can, we certainly encourage them to start a vaccination program and do like a PrimeVac or a VAC 45, which my wife and I ranch also up here. We VAC 45 all of our cattle, a PrimeVac, VAC 45. And that's what the buyers are looking for, things that they don't have to take home and have problems with.
In addition, using low-stress cattle handling techniques and getting the animals dewormed and weaned well before sale day will also make a big difference. And through the PrimeVac program, producers can certify their cattle to demonstrate the extra care they've been given.
We've had excellent response. We encourage all of our producers to sign up on the PrimeVac program and enroll their cattle in that program, give the proper shots, and follow it up with paperwork to verify. The response from our buyers has been phenomenal because when we get calls, especially in the fall, the very first thing that they ask is what shots have the cattle had and how long have they been weaned.
If you don't do those types of things and you get a reputation for providing cattle to the next buyer or to the buyer that aren't as best as they can be, they'll eventually make you pay for that. They will not pay as much for your cattle. They won't want your cattle. So in a competitive marketplace where there's a lot of animals entering the stream, it really adds value to the operation if you can set yourself apart. And I think our preconditioning programs are examples of that.
It does make a difference. It opens the doors to more buyers, more money. We sell at the sale yard because they seem to really help us. They push our program. They're the ones that got us started. They're the ones that introduced us to the Merck people. And, you know, it's just a win-win. It's just sometimes you just think you're just too busy to change, but you just got to do it.
In Idaho, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
You can find out more about the PrimeVac program and strategies that can help you add more value to your cattle by visiting the website mahcattle.com. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll give you an exclusive backstage look at the famous Ryman Auditorium. That story when we return. Stay with us.
Stressors that trigger bovine respiratory disease are all around. So when you spot BRD in your herd, turn to Zuprevo, the fast that lasts. Zuprevo is rapidly absorbed in as little as 45 minutes and lasts up to 28 days. Because in the race against BRD, you need to win. Ready, set, Zuprevo. In case of human injection, seek immediate medical advice. For use in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle only. For prescribing information, talk to your veterinarian or visit Zuprevo.com.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
Next week, several thousand cattlemen and women will gather in Nashville, Tennessee for the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show. Over a 3-day period, there will be lots to learn, some business to be done, and time to renew old friendships and cattle industry connections. There will also be time for a little fun and exploring, and one of the can't-miss places to visit in Music City is the Ryman Auditorium. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Kate Maher takes us backstage at this legendary venue.
It's one of the most influential venues in just not the country, but the world to music. This is Music City, and this is the origins of the music in Music City.
If you like music and history, there's no place like the Ryman Auditorium in the heart of downtown Nashville.
Started in 1892 with great performances, all types of performances, and it's just, it's the mother church of country music. It's where Elvis played, it's where Johnny met June, it's where Bruce Springsteen has played. It's a little something for everybody, from Bill O'Reilly to Willie Nelson. You name it, they've been here.
May 4th, 1892, we officially opened. There was an event that happened a little bit before that. Nevertheless, we've been here since May of 1892. Initially designed to be a tabernacle, meant to be a religious center for the city. The problem is, the board quickly realized as they were going throughout the construction that these expected donations for these religious gatherings were not going to be enough to offset the burden of the debt, right? So the very first event in the building was a music festival. We opened with music.
The golden age of country music really happened here at the Ryman Auditorium. So this is the place where Loretta Lynn was introduced to the world, and where Dolly Parton and Porter Wagner performed, Roy Acuff and Minnie Pearl, Ernest Tubbs, you know, all the great performers, all the Hank Williams Sr. Hank Williams Sr. had 7 standing ovations the very first night he played on the Opry here. So the Opry was here for 30 years, from 1943 to 1974.
Since it was originally built as a tabernacle, it's only fitting that the seating at the Ryman is solid oak church pews. And for those taking a tour, there are exhibits that chronicle the wide variety of music that's been played here in this historic building.
We like to say the biggest artifact is the building itself. So you're coming here, and the building is what people are wanting to see. They want to see the original pews, they want to see the stage, all that good stuff. But along the way, you see an introductory immersive film, kind of tells you, we cram 130 years of history into an 11-minute presentation. And then from there you come into the actual auditorium, the historic part of the venue, and there are exhibits chronologically along the way that tell the Ryman story. The things you have to, you got to get a photo on the stage, right? You're standing on, we've had 3 stages, but the front 3 feet of the stage, you'll see the lighter was actually from the 51 stage, so you were standing literally on the same boards that, you know, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Louis Armstrong, you know, Eric Clapton, all these greats have stood on those boards, and so you're standing where all these wonderful musicians have stood, get your photo on the stage.
The Ryman is still a place where you can go to hear great live music. And with a seating capacity of just 2,300, it's a favorite for many performers.
The people down front are just a few feet from you, and it's just such a connection. And then the sound quality in the room, it's considered one of the best acoustic sounds in the entire world, the way the sound reverberates off of the wooden pews. And so I just think that there becomes this connection between the artist and the audience.
No doubt, when cattle producers come to Music City, they'll be welcome at the Ryman.
We want to see all those big white brim country hats, cowboy hats coming in here from the Cattlemen's Convention. Come on down, take a tour of this wonderful building, get a sense of the history, get a picture on stage, and stand where your musical heroes have once stood. We invite everybody in.
In Music City, I'm Kate Maher, reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Women have always played a significant role in ranching and the Western way of life. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Lane Nordlund has more on a recent event that celebrated these Western women.
Recently, Bozeman, Montana played host to the third Art of the Cowgirl event. The four-day celebration recognized cowgirls and their contributions to the Western lifestyle and culture, while also raising funds to support up-and-coming Western artists. Montana's Tammy Pate founded the event.
I had this idea of having an event that would showcase women, and at that event have fundraising for a nonprofit that we could fund fellowships. So the mission of Art of the Cowgirl is to really empower and lift women up to not just to have a hobby, but for a job. So saddle making, boot making, rawhide braiding, silversmith, fine art, horsemanship.
Idaho's Annie Wangsgard is a previous Silversmith Fellowship recipient. She expanded her skills under Master Silversmith Amy Raymond from Oregon.
It opens up so many doors as far as connections and being able to ask somebody questions. Like Amy, she is great. I can call her anytime and ask questions if I've forgotten something that she's taught me, or if I have new questions that she knows about more than me. So yeah, it works great. It's awesome.
The event had activities for the entire family, from horsemanship clinics, ranch rodeo, stock dog trials, trade show vendors, elite horse sale, and more, all while celebrating the Western spirit and cowgirls.
We're just really, showing what we in the West already know. It's not about being a man or a woman. It's about doing the job. But this is really cool to see all of these women stepping up.
One can visit artofthecowgirl.com or find them on Facebook or Instagram for all the results from the event, including the elite horse sale, competitive events, and future Art of the Cowgirl activities. Reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, I'm Lane Nordlund.
Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll hear from our good friend Baxter Black. Plus, we go behind the scenes with Lodge Cast Iron to see how they make their famous cookware. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We know you're up before the dawn because the cattle rise before the sun. And you spend long hours in the saddle because the herd isn't always over the next rise. And you care for the land because you know it takes care of your family. And we know you do great work. And it's time to tell that story to the marketplace. IMI Global is here to help you do just that.
Did you know that Prefert makes over 1,000 different farm, ranch, and rodeo items? And now, thanks to Prefert Direct, it's easier than ever before to get access to every item Prefert makes delivered direct to your local dealer. For more information about Prefert Direct, visit us at prefert.com. Prefert, America's #1 name in farm, ranch, and rodeo.
This is the story of a curious cow who lived on Mr. Marvin's farm in the Kingdom of Kansas. Her name was Yvonne. Farmer Marv had a great, large, old-fashioned barn with a second-story haymow, a high-pitched roof, and a rooster weather vane on the tallest peak. Yvonne was piddling around in the barnyard one fine day, doing her hooves and trying to find her cuticles and curling her switch. How did that rooster get up on top of the barn, she wondered. Well, said Peggy, her best hen friend, I suppose he walked. He couldn't fly, you know, because the Poultry Protection League made it illegal for us to fly higher than a chicken wire fence. Said Curious Cow as she wandered into the barn. Let's see. She walked to a steep set of wooden stairs. You can't go up there, said Friend Hen, because cows can't hop. I wonder, mused Yvonne, and she clattered up the steps like a mountain goat and then walked to an open door. Yvonne had never seen the farm from this high up. It was then that Farmer Marv came out. Yvonne saw his mouth making, "Oh!" Yvonne and Peggy watched as the men built a long ramp out of plywood. What do you think that is for? Wondered the Curious Cow. Maybe it's a ski jump for the Kansas Barnyard Olympics, suggested Peggy. Well, Peggy was wrong. It took two men to push and shove Yvonne to the door, over the edge, and down the slope. And when they tossed Friend Hen out after her, she was heard to say, "I can fly, I can..." And that is the story of the Curious Cow, which, unlike other fairy tales, is true because I saw the video. This is Baxter Black and Mr. Marv from out there.
For many families, the cast iron skillet is the preferred way to cook a steak. And one Tennessee foundry has been making them for more than a century. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Sharon Alseth takes us inside Lodge Cast Iron for a look at this legendary cookware company.
South of Nashville, tucked into the Appalachian Mountains, is the town of South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. It's here that Lodge Manufacturing carries on the family tradition of casting iron cookware.
I am fourth generation descendant of Joseph Lodge, who founded the company back in 1896 here in South Pittsburgh. He chartered it originally as Blacklock Foundry, and in 1896 and 1910 it burned down. On the north end of town, he moved it to the south end of town, and 3 months later rechartered it and started operating it as Lodge Manufacturing Company. And so we've been family owned, family operated since day one.
In the past 120 years, the process of making Lodge cast iron cookware has changed a bit, but the raw material used at the start remains the same.
We take raw materials, raw iron ore, raw steel, raw sand, raw bentonite, and we make a combination of all those things to make molds in which we pour molten iron into it. So we take raw materials and make a finished cast iron piece of cookware. The original way of molding was done by hand, and a molder would actually work with his hands and make individual molds. And those would, a great operator, we had one operator here, could maybe make 150 to 200 molds in a day. Our new Diesematic molding units that we use here can do 450 molds, up to 450 molds an hour. From the time we take our raw materials and melt it into our furnaces, by the time we make the mold and pour the iron into it, all the way until it's in a box, ready to be shipped to a customer, it's about 2.5 hours.
I think one of the unique parts about, several unique things about cast iron, one is it's totally natural, and it's totally sustainable, totally recyclable. And second is, it can be used for almost any type of cooking. There's not a fire too hot. The cast iron can't be used. It can be used indoors, outdoors, wood, charcoal, electric, gas, induction. And I think all that has a real appeal.
Visitors to Lodge Manufacturing come from all over, and if they watch closely, they'll notice Lodge employees take great pride in their craftsmanship, in the company they work for, and in the durable product they produce.
One of the draws to us whenever we first met with Lodge is that they are an American company that are family oriented, and so are we. American beef farmers who are family oriented, who are working together to bring a safe, wholesome, nutritious food supply to our consumers. We love the morals and the foundation that Lodge has. I think it's very, very similar to what we have in the beef industry.
The neat thing is we have 3 different generations of family working here. We have a father, a son, and a granddaughter working here. The father works in the cleaning room, the son works as a maintenance person on the 3rd shift operation, and the granddaughter is a QA technician. So it's kind of neat, that generational thing. We have lots of brothers and sisters, husbands and wives. The skill set here is tremendous.
We're all pretty proud of what we've done with Joe Lodge's company. He certainly built a really strong foundation for us. And I think that pride has grown as the company has grown, and people travel and they see a skillet or a casting that they help make, and they may be 10 miles from home, they may be 100, they may be 1,000 or 2,000 miles from home, and can walk into a store and say, hey, I helped make that. And I think that's pretty cool.
With so many similarities to the beef industry, the Tennessee Beef Industry Council realized a partnership with Lodge could help leverage producers' checkoff dollars for more beef promotion.
Whenever we started talking with them about kind of where they're going, what their goals are, who their target audience is, we realized quickly that what they have in mind for their future is very much in line with what the beef industry has. You know, we want people to understand that you can cook fast, easy meals using beef and cast iron, and we think, you know, they feel like a lot of consumers are scared of their product and they don't know how to use it just the same as we feel about, you know, people using beef. We have a lot in common, and we just felt like there's no better match than beef and cast iron, so why not, you know, work together.
People like beef in all shapes and forms. I mean, I do for one. With just my wife and I at home, we tend not fire up the grill outside. So we'll take a nice small filet and I'll sear it on top of the stove in cast iron, then throw it in a 400-degree oven, cook it until it's just exactly like we want it.
Partnerships like this with Lodge is so critical to what we do, whether it be education sessions with youth or chefs or public relation. It's so critical to leverage that. We love sharing the Lodge brand with everybody that we can, and just always showing how beef and cast iron work so well together.
Remember, Lodge Manufacturing isn't making a casting. We're making a piece of cookware for a family to have dinner with. And so we take a lot of pride in that.
Whether it's a steak or a roast, a burger or a stew, Lodge Manufacturing has the cast iron cookware to fit the beef meal you want to cook. From South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, I'm Sharon Alseth for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Don't forget, you still have time to join us in Nashville for the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. That trade show, by the way, is the largest in the cattle business, covering almost 8 acres with hundreds of exhibitors. The convention officially gets underway next Tuesday and runs through Thursday evening. You can get all the details at convention.ncba.org. When we return, it's time for a weather update with meteorologist Matt Makins. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
In the world of cattle vaccines, when you see fewer reactions, you'll notice healthier cattle and higher profits too. Because sometimes good protection is about what you don't see. Protect your productivity with cattle vaccines from Merck Animal Health. Proven to cause fewer reactions. You'll like what you see. Our trusted portfolio is just one more way Merck Animal Health works for you. Talk to your veterinarian and visit cattlefriendlyvaccines.com to learn more.
Get more from your mower conditioners with John Deere 0 Series mower conditioners. Cover up to 10% more acres per hour with the wider cutting width of the C500. Cut time changing knives in half with quick change knives. Mow with confidence thanks to our 5-year cutter bar warranty. Get more productivity, tractor compatibility, uptime, choices, and confidence with John Deere 0 Series mower conditioners.
Time now for Weather Watch with meteorologist Matt Makins.
Matt Makins here with this week's Weather Watch. We're still chatting about the drought, but it's also related to exceptional heat. You'll read more about that exceptional heat coming up in August edition of the National Cattlemen. If it's not already in your mailbox, look for that pretty soon. Again, that's going to be the temperature outlook going for the rest of summer. In this segment, let's chat about hay production. Wildfire smoke is a factor there, and then I'll have your precip outlook for August. So let's get to it. Well, as far as the current drought, the footprint has grown a little bit. Some of the central plains, around the Corn Belt, Great Lakes. But for the west, northwest, southwest, and northern plains, the drought is exceptional. It's not changing anytime soon. Of course, there's going to be surface water issues there and a lot of wells being pumped earlier than normal out across the west due to the lack of surface water. Now, corn areas, traditional growers here shown in green. Let's put the footprint of the drought on top, and that equates to more than 1/3 now. More than 1/3 of our corn producing areas are in exceptionally dry to abnormally dry conditions, drought areas. Now let's look at hay producing areas. Traditional areas noted in green here, especially those to the west, covered in drought conditions obviously. And there's going to be some related transportation costs for the western producers trying to seek out some quality hay. So transportation costs been notably high for some producers there. Now more than 1/3 of hay is in a drought. Now alfalfa hay, more than half of that crop is experiencing drought conditions. Pretty bad situation through late July. To make things worse, here we have our wildfire smoke map as of late July, with the drought to the west, with the exceptional temperatures to the west, wildfires. That smoke has been covering a vast majority of the lower 48 throughout the month of July. What has that done to hay? It's limited the amount of sunshine in some cases. So some hay producers have noted longer drying times before they can bale due to the wildfire smoke, even if they're in a healthy growing area. Let's look at the precip outlook for August. Northern plains, sections of the Corn Belt, Great Lakes, I anticipated drier than average month. A little uptick in some moisture there to the southwest and the west, and an uptick in some moisture for the Gulf Coast states extending over Tennessee. Speaking of Tennessee, convention time. Join me on the Facebook page of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. I'll post a forecast for you so you can plan on what you can do in Nashville around the weather. I'll see you there.
If you're in the cattle business, you need to be in Nashville next week for the annual Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show. We asked some of NCBA's producer leaders to share their experiences at the Cattle Industry Convention.
I think I've been doing this trade show since 1990. That's my first year out of college, and every year seems to bring a little new excitement, a new little enthusiasm. This year in the state of Tennessee, you're in for not only a lot of entertainment, but as always, there's some key features about NCBA's convention that are really exciting to be there. One of them is you get to hobnob and rub elbows with a who's who in the industry. Everybody who's got an impact in the industry typically shows up at that event. So it's an incredible opportunity for you to meet lots of people from lots of areas. Secondly, if you're into education like I am, the Cattlemen's College is second to none. I'd encourage you to take that opportunity and delve into some of those subject matters and get up to speed with some incredible technologies and information that's exposed there.
What I enjoy most about not only my first convention, but all the conventions I've been to are the learnings. From the general session, where you get inspiration from the speakers, to the committee meetings, both policy and checkoff, to even the learning sessions within the trade show.
The convention has always been a highlight, I guess, because you see so many people from all over the country, and as a custom cattle feeder, I get to see a lot of customers from all over the country. But also, in this case, the policy meetings, it's a grassroots organization. All the policy is set by the members. NCBA does nothing that is not in their policy manual. And so that's really important. On the checkoff side, so much going on in building demand for beef, and you get to hear about all those efforts and so forth and the results. And so it's very rewarding, and it's very, very important. We are a grassroots organization. The officers, being on the officer team, I can tell you we do nothing that is not set by the membership. So encourage everyone to go, immerse yourself in everything. I mean, you're there, go to the meetings and have a good time. The trade show's great. We have great vendors.
You're at one of the greatest trade shows and greatest conventions of any organization, certainly any agricultural organization. And it's a great time. It's a lot of fun to be had by everybody. A couple of things that, our trade show is by far the best that's out there. You're going to see a lot of interesting things, but more importantly, you're going to meet a lot of interesting people. Enjoy your time there, make a lot of good friends, talk to a lot of people, and we look forward to visiting with you while we're there.
My favorite first memory of a convention was actually of my son's first convention. And I'll never forget the look of amazement and bewilderment when he walked through the doors to the trade show. And then I realized how I must have looked many years ago when I walked through to my first one. I am so excited that you're going to be here. Join the committee meetings, walk the trade show. So thanks for coming to the Cattle Industry Convention, and thanks for coming to the NCBA trade show. And I look forward to seeing you there.
And don't forget, there's still time to get to Nashville and be a part of the biggest cattle industry convention. It runs from next Tuesday through Friday, so come and check it out. Also, be sure to tune in to Cattlemen over the next several weeks as we bring you a lot of great stories and information straight from convention. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.